Welcome to Travel Insights, powered by the leading travel and tourism news portal TravelDailyNews.com International Edition. I'm Chryssa Skodra, and in this interview series, I have a chance to interview thought leaders, professionals, academics, and practitioners in the travel, tourism, and hospitality industries. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome Professor Dimitrios Buhalis. He is joining me now in the studio from England. Welcome, Professor Buhalis.
Hi, Chryssa. How are you doing? Happy New
Um,
Year.
Happy New Year. Professor Buhalis, you are the director of the eTourism Lab and the deputy director of the International Center for Tourism and Hospitality Research at the Bournemouth University Business School in England. Professor Buhalis, he is also an inspirational thought leader and a sought-after keynote speaker that travels around the world and undertakes cutting-edge research, developing innovations, and he's one of the people driving change and transformation in the tourism industry at large. He's also an evangelist, a futurist, a highly cited researcher and author. And today, Professor Buhalis, we will talk about the future of tourism, trends and challenges towards 2030. And you are just the right person to open up this topic.
Thank you.
Professor Buhalis, as we all know, many industries and of course tourism has been undergoing transformation over the recent years. Could you give us a short review and overview of the past and the current state, the present state of tourism before we look into the future? Where does tourism and hospitality stand today?
Great. So, look, tourism for the last 40 years has been growing dynamically, and it had the consistent kind of growth all over the world. And in the last few years, Asia was coming much more stronger because of the population of Asia and also because of the development of the middle class in Asia. I'm talking primarily about China and India. So tourism numbers were growing and predictions were kind of emerging that we're going to have more people traveling. What has happened over the years is democratization of tourism. And in the past, we're talking about, before 1950s, to travel, you had to be very, very rich. And everything was very expensive and everything was quite complicated. Now, in the last 20, 30 years, we have the absolute democratization of tourism. Everybody could actually travel. Fares, airline fares, transportation costs were reduced dramatically. You couldn't find hotels and accommodation establishments that can fit any budget. So up to 2019, 2020, we had a growth of tourism that was consistent, with a couple of times that international tourism did not grow very fast. And then 2020, COVID hits us. And what happens is that for the first time ever, tourism stops. Tourism has never stopped in the last 40, 50 years. For the first time ever, everything stopped. And tourism was worse hit than other places and other industries because governments restricted the ability of people to move around, to reduce the contamination. So that happened for probably a year. It depends on which region you are. For people in China, for example, it happened for 3 years. They're just opening up. And we are at that stage. So the presence is the post-COVID situation where we are recovering all the lost activity, but at the same time we are going through a transformation on tourism that is a result of many different forces, but also COVID is a major force for it.
Exactly. So, what is now the major trends, as you spoke about, post-COVID era? So, we are entering this era. What are the major trends that you are seeing, and you're conducting research that will shape the future of the travel and tourism industries?
I think
What
during COVID,
like?
we realized that tourism is so critical for everything that we do. One of the positive things of COVID is that tourism became part of the international agenda and it was discussed at the prime minister level or at the president level. We've never had that before, mainly because a lot of governments had to find money to fund the airlines that they were not flying. So all of a sudden, they just realized how critical tourism and transport is for the entire economy and how we operate.
Mhm,
Then what consumers realized that tourism is not an elastic form of demand anymore. So in the past, we thought that you are not going to travel because it's an elastic form of the of demand. So if you don't have the money or there are some other reasons you don't travel, it's not a big deal. Now we realize that's a huge deal.
mhm.
Partly because we live international and global lives, partly because families are everywhere, loved ones are everywhere, partly because business is everywhere, and partly because we realize unless you do leisure tourism, your mental health is suffering. So all of a sudden, we have a situation where consumers are finding tourism in elastic demand. So it means that they've got to travel. There's no way that they're not going to travel. And we've seen so many people that they were in lockdowns, that they went into mental health issues, they went to meltdowns, they went to political unrest, they went into a whole range of different things. And on the other side, you find that governments everywhere, they find that tourism is absolutely critical for their economic growth and their ability to operate in other industries. And at the same time, they've realized how critical it is for regional, peripheral regions and areas where tourism is a major activity. So places like Bali, places like Venice, places like the Greek islands, places like temples in Thailand. They just realize how critical it is, and they also realize that how critical and positive impact tourism has got to sustainability, because sustainability is not only about the environment, but it's about the communities. So all of a sudden, you had situations in Thailand or in Kenya where animals could not be fed because you didn't have the tourists putting the expenditure in to survive of all the animal life and everything else that was happening. At the same time, of course, um, when the activity paused, the nature had the opportunity to actually recover some of the damage that we're doing by creating activity, and sustainability became one of the discussions that we were talking about. But in fact, what happened during COVID is that sustainability went 20 years back and technology went 10 years ahead. So why sustainability went 20 years back? Because all of a sudden we're using one-time plastic. We're using a lot of disposable things that we had to use. A lot of the things that was happening in the healthcare was depending on throwing things away and burning things and all unsustainable practices, which we had recovered from for a period of time. And equally, technology was the other trend that emerged, because all of a sudden you had to do everything through technology.
Mhm.
You were doing e-banking, you're doing e-shopping, you were doing everything. You were speaking to your parents on technology, because when people were not, you were working from away, you were learning from home, you were all of these things happened, that technology were supporting a better future based on a range of tools that we never knew that they existed.
So there is a range of trends and a range of tools, and there's also a range of challenges, I would say,
Yeah.
because as you write in your books as well, there's new norms demand new ways of thinking and new ways of working together, and new challenges are being brought up for individuals and organizations and societies at large. So, what are the challenges that you predict? With your research and insights, and how they could be overcome in your opinion?
This is a big question. First of all, during the COVID period, I took advantage of the fact that I was not traveling anymore, because normally I travel 200 days per year. And I've created, let me put it the right finger,
Mm-hmm,
Encyclopedia of Tourist Management and Marketing.
mm-hmm,
That is a huge work that created the 3,528 pages, supplied by 1,500 academics, and we're dealing with 1,250 topics. And we look into all the trends and all the issues.
mm-hmm.
Now, we were working towards the United Nations global uh, global
Sustainable goal.
sustainable agenda towards 2030. But of course,
Mm-hmm,
that stopped all of a sudden, and a lot of resources went away from the sustainable development goals to other immediate needs on health or transportation or recovering and resilience effectively. So the trends for the future that
mm-hmm,
we see are going back into the sustainable development goals and look into how we can achieve the United Nations 2030 agenda, which is all the big challenges: no hunger, equality, quality of water, all of the 17 big SDGs. And at the same time, we need to look into how tourism becomes a catalyst towards those.
mm-hmm.
The big things that we are looking into there is, of course, sustainability and how we are sustaining communities. This is a very complicated kind of term, with a lot of people talking about sustainability, but without necessarily understanding what they're talking about. Uh, Sustainability is about communities and enabling communities to survive in the longer term. One of the major tools, of course, is technology and all the technological innovations that are happening currently, and the things that we're developing in terms of robots, in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of smart systems, smart cities, and all of those things that they're going to bring us forward. We're looking to consumers and what consumers want for the future, and consumers have changed dramatically. A lot of people are questioning, why do I have 50 pairs of shoes while I only need 4 or 5? And they start collecting experiences. They would like to make sure that they'll go to Bali, make sure that they're seeing New York, make sure that they experience Lapland, make sure that they are looking to the Kenya kind of safaris, right? Rather than have yet another suit or something, or a big brand or whatever.
Professor Buhalis, I know that you're very passionate. As I said in my introduction, you're an evangelist, you're a futurist, you have a keen interest in information communications
Before
technology.
you go there, Chryssa, the thing that we really, one of the big things that are happening as a trend, because
Mhm.
that's part of the question, is what's happening with the talent and what's happening with the human resources. Because
Mhm.
one of the
And that could
major
lead us nicely to the challenges that I asked you, because I would like you to touch upon also critically, not only in the towards the opportunities and all the great trends, but are there any challenges that everybody's listening, organizations, companies involved in the tourism and travel and hospitality industries, that they should have their antennas up and they should be cautious about, or they should be interested and curious about? So touch upon, please, regarding the challenges topic as well.
the biggest challenge that came out of the COVID situation and the trouble was human resources. It's how can we retain human resources, and how can we develop the talent in tourism? How can we inspire people to work in tourism and hospitality and have good careers towards supporting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? And this is really a huge challenge right now. And a lot of people are kind of going back to employees, and they say, come back to your previous jobs. But I don't think that this is the way forward. The way forward is to redesign everything that we do, re-engineer the entire tourism industry based on technological innovations, that we bring different people to do interesting things. So I don't know of anybody really who would like to be a pot washer if they had the
Right.
choice. I don't know anybody who would like to be a cleaner if they have the choice. So the challenge is to re-engineer what we do in tourism.
Hmm. And
And
how to re-engineer, and what certain synergies do you see that they are needed in order to ensure really that the tourism industry is growing stronger? So what partnerships and synergies you see in order for this co-creation and re-engineering to really take place and have results?
this is exactly what we dealt with in the encyclopedia and the other books that I'm currently
I
bringing
can
out.
show you at the moment to all our viewers. These are a few of the books that Professor Buhalis has been writing or co-authoring. Um, Here is the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing. So, Professor Buhalis, you were saying,
So what we have is we really need to look into how we are creating tourism. What is the way that we are managing tourism, and what is the way that we're engaging with the different players in the development of the tourism industry and the development of the tourism experience. And what we need to do is we need to identify how we can operate the entire system much more efficiently in the future, to engage people in processes that they co-create value for everybody. So consumers, locals, human resources, governments, investors, management, all of the sustainability groups, all of these people need to cooperate, and they need to coordinate together. And this is really the epitome of everything that we do. And I send you the pyramid from the encyclopedia if you had
here I
it,
can show it briefly if
which is exactly what it says. Is and this is on my editorial statement. It's really the synthesis of everything that we do. That we need tourism that's smart, sustainable, that's addressing the society through a strategy. And what we try to do is we are trying to look into the tourism system and how it operates. And then we have the different layers that they're coming in there, that they're actually contributing to tourism. There's nothing more complex than tourism and
I
tourism.
think this graph illustrates just that, how complex the whole ecosystem is. And Professor Buchalis, before we close this interview, I'd like to ask you, because you are an advisor to many governments, destinations, many organizations, and companies in the field of tourism and hospitality around the world. I would like you to put in a nutshell, what are your hands-on advice or insights that can bring value for all these people and organizations at the moment, something that it's top of your mind and top of your in your heart. What would be something that you want to our viewers to keep in mind and keep their eyes on?
There are two strategies primarily, and one is a bottom up, and the other is top down. Okay. So the bottom up strategy is by looking into every single destination and every single market and every single activity that we do, analyze it, granularize what we do. So look at every detail and redesign it in a way that's efficient, sustainable, and is co-creating value. So whatever you do, going to the Lapland in Finland and go to Rovaniemi and go on the Santa Claus experience, or go to the Greek islands and have a night out and have a beautiful dinner by the sea. We really need to look into how do we do this, and what is the impact that that has got to society, to environment, and what is the value, who benefits from it, and do the local people, the local residents benefit from it. So that is the bottom up approach. And then we need to redesign it in order to make it beneficial, in order to make competitive, efficient, and to maximize value. The top down approach is that we need to realize that a lot of the things that we're doing in the past have simply changed. and we're never going to be able to do them the same way. A lot of the tourism industry is operating with practices from the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to look into how can we use new technology, new marketing, new practice on sustainability, biotechnology, new fuels, new production of food, and all of these things needs expertise. So this is a top-down approach where the experts are actually helping us develop what we found on the bottom-up approach.
Right. You spoke about talent management before also.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need is you need to understand the granularity at this level of what we're trying to do, and then we need to bring the expertise in what's the best way of redesigning this.
Yeah.
I
So an
keep
eagle's eye approach and also an attention to detail approach.
at the
So
same
both
time,
at the same time, a holistic
but,
approach and yet a detailed
but,
approach.
but with the glasses for innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking at these things with a glass of innovation to look into how can we actually change what we do. But people hate change. That's another thing we need to look at. How do we change what we do in order to maximize the efficiency, in order to maximize the benefit and the value that we co-create for all the stakeholders? This is the conclusion of the encyclopedia. It's basically we're doing tourism to co-create value for all the stakeholders. If we create value for a few stakeholders, this will not be sustainable on the longer term. So if the locals take all the money and all the benefits, the tourists are not going to go there. And if the tourists are taking all the value and all the pleasure, the locals wouldn't like them. So it's really about managing the different dynamics of different stakeholders and co-creating value for all the different players in the best possible way.
Thank you, Professor Buhalis. You can read out more at buhalis.com. Professor Buhalis has a great website. You can also follow him on social media where he shares more of his thoughts and insights. I would like, to this point, thank you, Dimitris, for joining me today at Travel Insights. I hope to see you soon
Thank you so much.
in person. Bye for now. And to the rest of you, you can check the latest news and a travel and tourism industry at TravelDailyNews.com. And you can stay tuned every week on Wednesday to watch interesting topics being analyzed by leading thought leaders and experts. And if you have your own insights that you would like to share, please reach out to me in the email that you will see now in your screen below and at the end of our broadcast. So see you next week on Travel Insights, powered by TravelDailyNews.com. You can watch also our episodes and interviews on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.